Hello boys and girls, and welcome to lesson 3-2. This is going to be on least common multiple. Least common multiple. Be sure to add this to your table of contents. Least common multiple. And write down the next page number. Mine is going to be on 15. Yours may be different. Okay, for least common multiple, I'm going to give you a term to define first, and that is LCM, least common multiple. So least common multiple is when you have a set of two or more numbers could be more numbers. You have a set of two or more numbers and it is the smallest number that is a multiple of all the numbers in a set. And go ahead and copy that down while I explain. So the least common would be a number that is the lowest number in common within that set of numbers of two or more numbers, and it has to be a multiple of both of the numbers. So let me give you an example to show you what that looks like. This is example A. And I am going to work on finding the least common multiple of 8 and 10. So in a least common multiple, I want to multiply to get larger numbers. That's one way you can remember it. Multiple is to multiply to get larger numbers. So I'm going to start by listing all the multiples of 8. So I start with 8, and let's put a colon here. And I want to list all the multiples of 8. So I say to myself, okay, 8 times 1 is 8. I'll write that down. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. And I keep going. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6, 48. 8 times 9, or sorry, 7 times 8 is 56. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 8 is 56. So it's going to be 8 times 8 is 64. And then 8 times 9 is going to be 72. And if I can squeeze it in over here, 8 times 10 is going to be 80. So these are all the multiples of 8. So it's any number multiplied out. Now we're going to find the multiples of 10. Starting with 10. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 times 4, 40. 10 times 5 is 50. 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times 70. And 10 times 7 is 70. And 10 times 8 is 80. I'm going to stop right there. So a lot of times, people, when they're trying to find a common multiple, they'll just multiply these two numbers together and get 80. But that's not necessarily the least common multiple. That's what you do when you can't figure it out any other way. You would multiply these two numbers together. For this method, we're going to be finding the multiples of 8, finding the multiples of 10, and then we're going to find the least one that they have in common. So we're going to start from the left-hand side, looking at these. 8. No 8's down here. 10. No 10's up here. 16. No 16. 24. No 24. No 30 matching. No 32 matching. We have a 40 and we have another 40. So these two match. They are in common with each other. So the least common multiple of 8 and 40, or 8 and 10, would be 40. Least common multiple. If you need to take a moment and catch up with your notes, feel free to do that. I'm going to go on. Okay, I'm going to show you another method for solving least common multiple. And it's got several steps in it. We're going to find the least common multiple of 12 and 30. Okay, so in this example, the first thing that I want to do is I want to have all of the prime factors of both numbers. So I'm going to make a factor tree, and the factors of 12, 2 and 6, and 2 and 3. So I have 2 times 2 times 3. And I'm going to set this up towards the middle of my page, and you'll see why in a minute. For 30, I'm going to look at the factors. I have 3 and 10. 3 is prime. 2 and 5. Now I have all prime factors. I forgot to circle that one. So now I'm going to write these in sequential order underneath this one. So for 12, I had, these are the prime factors, and for 30, I'm going to have the 2, it's got to go first, times 3, times 5. So these are the prime factors of 12 and 30. Now remember, I'm looking for least common multiple. So I'm looking for the lowest common multiple of both those numbers. When you multiply it out, think of multiplying again as getting bigger. So in this method, there's two steps. Now that I have the factor, the first step is to look at what they have in common. This is the common part. So they both have 2 in common. And they both have 3 in common. So I'm going to take the 2 and the 3, this pair of 2 times the pair of 3. Now, 2 and 5 don't have matches. I do not have those in common. So I need to add both of these. I'm going to add another 2, and for this part, I wouldn't worry about the sequential order. I would just write it down, because you can always rewrite it later if you wanted to. You don't need to. We're not going to be getting smaller. We're going to be getting bigger. So we're actually going to multiply these out. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 2 times 5 is 10. 60 is my least common multiple. This is a quicker way of doing it, or maybe it's not quicker to you, but there is the potential because you have 2 different steps to make mistakes. So you have to remember first to find the common prime factors. Find the common prime factors, which are 2 and 3, multiply them together to get 6. And then you have to take the remaining factors, prime factors. Which are 2 and 5. 2 and 5. Multiply them all out until you get the larger number. That's your least common multiple. So you have the common prime factors and the remaining prime factors, and then you're going to multiply them to find the least common multiple. So the least common multiple of 12 and 30 is 60. That concludes our lesson. I look forward to seeing your responses on our quiz.